I speak 9 languages girl proudly reveals this amazing secret, leaving the millionaire shocked. Maria stood backstage, her heart pounding like a drum. The bright lights of the charity fair illuminated the crowd, filling the air with a mix of laughter, chatter, and the tantalizing smell of her family's pastries wafting from the bakery across the street. Her fingers brushed against the fabric of her dress, nerves twisting in her stomach as she glanced at the townspeople who filled the park. Could she really do this? Would they accept her? As the local kids strutted their talents, Maria felt small in comparison. She was just the daughter of hardworking immigrants, tucked away in the shadows, helping her parents at their beloved bakery. But those long afternoons spent kneading dough taught her resilience and the significance of family. What they didn't know was that she had a secret. She spoke 9 languages, each one a bridge between cultures and a weapon against the prejudice they often faced. Finally, after watching others share their skills, Maria gathered her courage. The moment before stepping into the spotlight felt electric. The crowd quieted, anticipation hanging thick in the air. I speak 9 languages, she proclaimed, nearly choking on her words. The silence that followed was deafening. Mr. Donovan, the wealthy businessman, raised an eyebrow, his initial shock giving way to an expression of skepticism. "What does that even mean?" he asked, his words cutting through the tension. A ripple of mixed reactions cascaded through the crowd. Some gasped in pride, while others exchanged whispers of doubt. Maria's heart sank. Would her talents be dismissed because of where she came from? Her classmates exchanged looks tinged with jealousy. One of them sneered, "She's just trying to show off. What does she know about real life?" The sting of those words hit Maria hard, but she couldn't give up. She dwelled in that uncomfortable feeling, the doubt that crept in like a shadow. But she sensed a spark of hope within. It was time to reclaim her story. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Taking a deep breath, Maria stood tall. She spoke not just of her languages, but of the hard work of her parents, the sacrifices they made for a better life. Words flowed like the sweetest syrup, wrapping around each listener. She challenged the crowd, asking, "What does it mean to be American? Is it background, or is it drive? Is it privilege, or is it hard work?" The stillness froze time. Her voice rang out, simple yet powerful. As her speech unfolded, eyes began to widen. Some felt the weight of their own biases, acknowledgement dawning like light. Just as the mood shifted, a loud voice broke the swell of emotion. Questions arose, doubt seeped back in. Can she really be that good? The crowd turned, a wave of tension crashing over them. Would she crumble under the weight of judgment, or rise with the fire she had ignited? Maria's heart raced as she stood her ground, a beacon of bravery in a storm of skepticism. The future of their shared community hung in the balance, and only she had the power to redefine their understanding of family and belonging. Maria felt the air shift, heavy with anticipation. The hush in the crowd amplified her heartbeat. She could feel every gaze piercing through her, looking for flaw, for hesitation. But as she locked eyes with Mr. Donovan, a new resolve sparked inside her. This wasn't just about her anymore, it was about her family, her heritage, and proving everyone wrong. She took another step forward, the stage feeling both foreign and familiar at once. Clearing her throat, she pressed on, "I've met people from different walks of life. I've listened to their stories, their hopes. Each language tells a story of its own." With every word, she felt lighter, as if casting off the doubts that had tried to anchor her down. "English might be the language of this land," she continued, her voice gaining strength, "but words aren't just tools for communication. They're the pathways that connect us, that forge our identity." Some nods from the crowd made her heart swell. She could sense a shift. Maybe they would embrace her message. A flicker of recognition passed among the crowd, igniting a spark of curiosity. Can you really speak all those languages? A small voice piped up from the back. The girl must have been no older than 10, her wide eyes brimming with innocent enthusiasm. Maria smiled, grateful for the child's innocent question. Yes. And with some of those languages, I've translated poetry. I've had the chance to help people navigate their lives, to feel at home in a foreign land. Isn't that what all of us want? With myriad emotions swirling around her, she started to share snippets of her life, how her parents ventured into the unknown, how she relished their small victories, and how every language she spoke was like a charming piece of her family's mosaic. From the corner, Maria noticed Mr. Donovan leaning in, a hint of interest breaking his earlier skepticism. She took another deep breath, encouraged by that tiny win. I want you all to think about your identities. What defines you? Is it the language you speak at home? The traditions your grandparents passed down? We are a tapestry, woven together with our differences and shared experiences. A murmur began to ripple through the crowd, people exchanging murmurs of agreement and interest. Maria felt emboldened, ready to push through the remaining barriers, yet, just as she thought she was reaching them, the voice of a classmate cut through again, sharper than before. But what do you really know about struggle? You're just a kid. The word stung. Maria's vision blurred for a moment, her chest tightening as old insecurities clawed at her. But among the sea of faces, she also saw the supportive glances of her family. Their pride intermingled with her anxiety, a reminder of why she was there. Drawing from that well of love, she replied fiercely, You think struggle is defined by age? I see my parents work day and night, often with no words to guide them all for a brighter future. I speak 9 languages, yes, but the greatest lesson I've learned is that resilience doesn't come from what you know, but what you do with that knowledge. With that, silence washed over them again, thicker and deeper. Perhaps they were beginning to grasp the essence of her message. Maria stood unwavering, the power of her words weaving through the crowd like music. The moment felt surreal. Just as Maria began to see a flicker of acceptance in their eyes, Mr. Donovan stood up, a mix of curiosity and challenge in his demeanor. If you can speak all those languages, let us see you prove it right now. Gasps echoed in the crowd. Could Maria not only hold her ground but rise to this unexpected challenge? All eyes shifted back to her, waiting for what came next, and the weight of the moment became palpable. Maria's heart raced, unsure of her next step, yet driven by the hunger to prove herself. What would she choose to say next? Maria's mind raced, thoughts colliding in a whirlwind. 9 languages. 9 ways to express herself, 9 cultures she'd embraced. But which one to choose? The pressure pressed upon her chest like a heavy stone, but she knew, deep down, this was her moment to shine. She wouldn't let the weight of doubt crush her spirit. Taking a deep breath, she scanned the crowd. Their faces held a variety of emotions, some uncertain, others eager. Mr. Donovan's eyes bore into her, challenging yet genuinely curious. She felt a surge of purpose. This was not just about confidence, this was about connection. All right, Maria said, her voice steady, I'll show you. I'll say something in each language that speaks to who I am. She paused for effect, feeling the room shift as they leaned in closer. Let us start with Spanish, she declared, her heart fluttering. Hola, mi nombre es María. Estoy aquí para hablar de nuestras historias, que nos unen como comunidad. The words flowed like water. She could see understanding dawning on faces, more people nodding now. Some even smiled, and there was laughter from a few who recognized their own heritage in her words. The warmth of belonging enveloped her. Next, she spun into French. Bonjour, je suis fier de mon héritage. Nos differences sont notre force. Again, the crowd reacted, this time with whispers of recognition. Maria felt a thrill, it was like a ripple passing through, igniting energy. She continued, seamlessly transitioning into Italian, Chinese, and then Arabic, each language connecting her deeper to her roots and her audience. Je parle de rêves de nos familles, she said in French, the hopes that journey across miles. The crowd murmured with interest, each person wrestling with their own stories. It was as if she had unlocked a door to their shared experience. The energy in the room crackled. Maria felt more than just nerves, she felt invincible. She overflowed with passion as she spoke in Russian, then Portuguese, and by the time she reached her final language, Hindi, she couldn't help but smile brightly. And in that moment, she wasn't just sharing languages, she was celebrating unity. Yet, amid her elation, a flicker of doubt crept back in. Would they truly understand the message hidden beneath her words? The essence of each heritage she represented? Her heart pounded as she concluded. Each language holds our stories, she said, her voice filled with emotion. We may have different tongues, but we all share the same desire to be heard, to belong. The silence that followed felt electric. She saw Mr. Donovan's expression soften, confusion replaced by contemplation. A shift in the air told her that even the harshest critics might be warming to her. Finally, someone clapped. Then another joined, and soon the entire audience erupted in applause. Maria felt tears welling in her eyes, a mixture of joy and relief washing over her. She had done it. She had connected with them. But just as Maria prepared to bask in the moment, she noticed a new figure at the edge of the room, a man in a crisp suit, his arms crossed and his gaze intensely focused. He hadn't clapped, nor did he look impressed, just intrigued. Interesting approach, Maria, his voice cut through the applause. But showing off your skills won't change the reality. What will you do when faced with real challenges? His words hung in the air, deflating the buoyant atmosphere. A heaviness settled back over her. Doubt began to creep in again. What would happen when the crowd left and the challenge of the world awaited? Her heart raced, anxiety bubbling beneath her resolve. Would she be able to continue proving herself? The real challenge had only just begun. The applause faded, leaving a lingering silence that felt heavier than ever. Maria took a breath, trying to shake off the weight of the stranger's words. She glanced around the room, searching for a familiar face, but all she saw were strangers, some still smiling at her, others wearing expressions of uncertainty. The contrast made her stomach twist. Yeah, maybe it was just a show, the man in the suit continued, his eyes piercing through the remaining excitement in the room. You think speaking multiple languages is a shield against real-life struggles? What happens when someone challenges you in a way those languages can't help? The crowd shifted uncomfortably, glancing at one another, as if suddenly unsure of what to think. It was a stark contrast to the unity she had just created. The applause had turned her moment of triumph into a spotlight of scrutiny. Those languages brought us together, Maria replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Each word represents a piece of who I am and who we are. They matter. But the man's eyes narrowed, unimpressed. And what about your community? What about the people who can't speak these languages? How do they fit into your narrative? She opened her mouth to respond, but the words evaporated. Maria was the daughter of immigrants, raised in a neighborhood where English was just one of many languages spoken on the streets. She felt a sudden surge of each struggle, each story shared with her. How could she explain that connection in a sound bite? And what about those cultures? He pressed on, pushing her further. How do you defend those you left behind while you climb higher? It hit her like a punch. What was he trying to say? That she wasn't allowed to celebrate her success. That acknowledging her heritage came with a weight one she was too afraid to carry. Look, Maria said, summoning her resolve, I don't think it's a competition. I carry every part of my identity with me, and each language is a bridge to someone else's story. We all share those stories, each of us navigating our paths. The silence that ensued felt like a standoff. Maria's heart hammered in her chest. She hadn't expected this confrontation, and yet it was unearthing something deeper within her. The air felt thick, yet a girl near the front slowly raised her hand. What's wrong with wanting to connect? We all need that. I understood what you said when you spoke in Spanish. It reminded me of home. Nods erupted from various corners of the room, momentum building. Maria felt sparks of hope flicker just as quickly as her earlier confidence had waned. Exactly. She exclaimed, driven by the evolving energy around her. We learn from each other, regardless of language. We face challenges by reaching out, listening, and understanding together. The man in the suit crossed his arms tighter, and for a moment, Maria thought he'd remain unmoved. But then his brow furrowed, just a hint of thought breaking through his bravado. Then let us see how strong that bridge really is, he said, his tone skeptical but curious. What's your plan when the celebration is over? When the real work begins? His challenge hung in the air, igniting fresh fear mixed with determination. Maria knew there was depth in her passion, and the words weren't just for this moment, they had to lead to action. The challenge loomed larger than she anticipated, but beneath the doubt, she felt a stirring of purpose. Would she retreat, or would she lean in, ready to battle not only for her heritage but for authenticity? As the crowd began to murmur, uncertainty settling like fog, Maria took a step forward. She would find her way through this, she had to. One truth resonated louder than the rest: her journey was only just beginning. What do I need to do? She asked, her voice steadied. As the man raised an eyebrow, Maria prepared for an answer that might just change everything for her. She could feel the pull of destiny, and it filled her with both fear and excitement. What would his response bring? The room buzzed with anticipation, the tension palpable as everyone leaned in, waiting for the man in the suit to respond. He seemed to weigh his words carefully, like stones in a scale, before finally speaking. Okay, he said slowly, let's see if you really mean that. I'm going to challenge you to a conversation. You'll engage with someone from a different background, someone who doesn't share your language or experiences. What will you do then? Maria swallowed hard. Her heart raced in her chest. This wasn't just a test of words, it was a test of her very essence. Could she truly connect beyond language, beyond the barriers etched by culture and circumstance? Fine, she said, surprising herself with her conviction. I accept. The room erupted with a mix of cheers and whispers, but Maria focused on the challenge ahead. She had always believed deep down that connection transcended spoken words, but now she'd have to prove it, not only to him but to herself. Suddenly, a thought struck her. Could you choose someone for me? She asked, aiming for confidence that she didn't fully feel. The crowd quieted again, intrigued. The man paused, as if caught off guard by her request. Interesting. You're willing to let me choose? He glanced around the audience and pointed at a young man sitting near the back, looking just as puzzled as everyone else. You, he called out. What's your name? Isaac, the young man replied, his voice barely loud enough to reach the front. He looked nervous, but there was a spark in his eyes. Maria sensed it. Maybe he was feeling the same pressure she was. Great. Isaac it is. You two will have a conversation, and we'll let the crowd decide who made a stronger connection, the man said with a smirk. Oh, and just to make it interesting, you have to do it in English. Maria's heart sank momentarily. English wasn't her enemy, but it felt so limited compared to how she usually expressed herself. Every layer of her identity felt stripped away. But then she remembered the girl who stood up for her, the sentiment behind that shared understanding. It was still there, pulsing under the surface. Okay, let us do this, she said, as she stepped toward Isaac. She could see the anxiety on his face, mirroring her own. The audience watched, and she could feel their collective breath, a tight knot of hope and doubt. Maria smiled at Isaac, not as a contestant in a challenge but as a partner sharing a moment. Hey, Isaac, she started gently, tell me about your story. At first, he hesitated, searching for words. I came here with my family. We left everything behind to find better opportunities. Maria nodded, gesturing for him to continue, surprised at how deeply his words resonated. Me too. My family came here for more languages and experiences. What was it like for you? They shared their stories, the weight of identity and struggles unfolding in front of the audience. Maria could see smiles, empathy forming around her. With each word, she felt the connection weave tighter, as if language was nothing more than a slender thread in this fabric they were weaving together. As the conversation deepened, she discovered layers of shared experiences, laughter echoing in places where silence once loomed. Slowly, the crowd began to cheer and clap, a wave of encouragement washing over them. But the man in the suit didn't look impressed. Just when she thought they had made progress, he interjected. That's all well and good, but what does it matter? You're still just two people sharing a moment. You're not changing the world. In that moment, Maria felt an ember of anger spark inside her. Maybe we don't have to change the world in one conversation, she countered, surprising herself. But if we can reach just one person, isn't that worth it? The crowd erupted once again, but Maria felt her heart pounding for another reason. This challenge was only the beginning. What if one conversation could inspire others, build bridges that lasted beyond the walls of this room? As Isaac nodded, something clicked between them, a silent agreement that they wouldn't. Let this be the end. Let us not stop here, Maria said, her voice steady now. Let us show others what connection feels like. The energy shifted, and for the first time, Maria could almost sense hope solidifying around them. Yet, as the applause built back up, uncertainty loomed large. What would their next steps be in making that hope a reality? Just as she began to formulate a plan, she caught the man's eye again. His expression hadn't changed, but something about it felt different. What would he bring to the table now that her feet were firmly planted in her resolve? With the fire of determination lighting her path, she would have to confront the next hurdle head-on. This was only the start of a much larger journey, and she was ready. How far would she go to turn this into something bigger? Maria felt the warmth of the audience's applause wash over her, but amidst the cheers, a channel of doubt broke through. She turned to Isaac, who was looking back at her with the same blend of excitement and uncertainty. Do you really think we can do this? She asked, her voice dipping low so only he could hear. I mean, change things. Isaac paused, his brow furrowing for a moment before he replied. I guess if we don't try, we'll never know. There it was, the spark she had sensed earlier igniting again. Okay, let us start with something small, she proposed, a plan forming in her mind. What if we invite others to share their stories too? We can create a space for conversations like ours. Like a forum? Isaac asked, a hint of enthusiasm creeping into his voice. Exactly. A way for people to connect beyond their backgrounds, just like we did. As they spoke, the room continued to buzz with energy while Maria's mind raced ahead. What if this could be a series of events, bringing in people from different walks of life, languages, and experiences? Each conversation unlocking new insights. Maybe we can have a theme for each meeting, she suggested. Things like identity, migration, happiness, anything that makes people connect more. I love it. Isaac beamed, now animated. But where do we even begin? Their gaze swept across the audience, a sea of faces waiting and watching. A new resolve surged through Maria. Let us find out who's willing to join us right now, she said, filled with a sudden drive. She stepped back to face the crowd. Who here wants to be a part of this? Who wants to share their story? Maria's heart raced as she waited, half afraid of silence and half excited by possibility. One by one, hands began to rise. A woman in the front stood up. I will. I have so much to say. A lean young man shouted from the back, me too. Let us do this. The excitement in the room shifted like a wave crashing onto the shore. Maria felt that ember inside her breath into a flame. This was no longer just about her and Isaac, it was becoming larger, a movement growing right before their eyes, but the man in the suit stepped forward, interrupting the growing enthusiasm. "This is all well and good, but you have no structure. No foundation." His tone was condescending, a chill cutting through the warmth of the moment. "You can't just spark conversations and expect to make an impact." Maria felt indignation tighten in her chest. "Maybe you don't see the value," she shot back, her tone sharper than she intended. "But we're not giving up. We'll find a way." Isaac stood by her, nodding firmly. "Start small, right? One conversation at a time." "Exactly." Maria agreed, casting a glance at the crowd. "Everyone here, they want to connect. We just have to give them the chance." The excitement rose again, a swell of yes filtering through the room. It was clear they were ready to be a part of something bigger, something meaningful, but then, just as self-doubt threatened to creep back in, the man in the suit leaned closer, his expression shifting from disinterest to something less certain. "What if I told you I could help you? If you're serious about this, you might need a little guidance." Maria exchanged glances with Isaac as whispers spread through the crowd. The prospect both excited and terrified her. Could this be the key to making their idea real, or was it another way to control their vision? As uncertainty swirled in the air, she knew they were standing on the edge of something significant. The threshold was in view, but would they step through with this unexpected offer, or would they trust their instincts and forge their own path? What choice would define them next? The journey was just beginning, but it had already become a test of faith in themselves and the connections they would nurture. And that was where the real challenge lay. Maria felt her heart thump loudly against her chest as the man's offer hung in the air, heavy with implications. The possibility of help was enticing, but the wariness brewing in her gut made her hesitate. She traded glances with Isaac, searching for a hint of reassurance, but his dark eyes mirrored her own uncertainty. The crowd was restless, murmuring amongst themselves. Maria could sense a shift. Her initial surge of enthusiasm was ebbing away, tangled in a web of skepticism and hopeful desire. She stepped forward, wanting to reclaim the moment. "Thank you for your offer," she said, raising her voice to cut through the uncertainty. "But we're committed to shaping this ourselves. We want to build something real, from the ground up." Heads nodded, encouraged by her determination. The energy began to pulse again, a flicker of hope curling at the edges of the room. There was something about honesty that resonated deeply. The crowd craved authenticity, not another polished facade. The man in the suit shifted uneasily, clearly not used to being challenged. "You're making a mistake. All I'm suggesting is a framework to help you." "And what kind of framework are we talking about here?" Maria interrupted. "One that serves your interests. Or one that genuinely helps people share their stories." His expression faltered, he seemed taken aback by her boldness. But before he could respond, a voice rang out from the audience. "I want to share my story." A young girl, possibly no older than 15, stood up, her hands clenched tightly at her sides. The spotlight shifted to her, illuminating the determination on her face. Maria turned to her, feeling drawn in by the girl's courage. "What's your name?" "Lila," she said, her voice trembling but strong. "I speak 9 languages. And I've had friends who've struggled just to find a voice, just to be heard. This is important." A wave of murmurs traveled through the crowd, a mix of admiration and curiosity. Maria felt a warmth spreading through her chest as Lila continued speaking, her passion radiating. "Sometimes, it feels like we don't matter because we're young, or because we don't have much to share. But every story is important. Every voice needs to be heard." The audience was captivated. Maria's heart swelled with pride as she watched Lila command attention effortlessly. Something deep within her stirred a realization that sometimes the most profound insights come from unexpected places. "Lila." Maria called out, excitement crackling in her voice. "Would you be interested in joining us as a co-host for our first conversation? We need voices like yours." Eyes widened, Lila took a step forward, hesitation giving way to eagerness. Me? Really? Absolutely. Maria insisted. Together, we can ensure that everyone feels like they matter. Isaac, beaming with encouragement, added, we'll find other young voices, and mix experiences. This could be the start of something extraordinary. The applause erupted again, but this time, it carried a weight of purpose. With Lila now firmly in the fold, the air seemed charged with promise, yet, the man in the suit stood watching, his brow furrowing as he processed the transformation taking place. Would he retreat into his world of structure, or would he reconsider? Maria couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something monumental. Would they secure the support they needed to take this momentum and create a widespread movement? As she scanned the gathered faces, the champions of change, she felt an overwhelming conviction rising within her. They were ready to carve out a space where everyone could belong, but a challenging road lay ahead. With Lila by her side and a group of passionate individuals growing around them, Maria took a deep breath. Let us meet next week. We'll plan this together. Because one thing was clear, this was just the beginning. The journey demanded more courage, deeper connections, and an unyielding belief in each other. But as those thoughts swirled, Maria caught the man in the suit's narrowed gaze, suddenly curious. What if he's not done yet? What lay ahead for them, and would their journey remain their own, or would they be drawn back into systems that tried to shape them? Maria felt a rush of energy fill the room, lifting the spirits of everyone gathered. Lila's infectious passion ignited a fire within the crowd. They were no longer just an audience but a community, ready to share their stories and stand together. Next week. Maria repeated, her voice cutting through the excited chatter. Let us brainstorm ideas that reflect all of our voices. We'll gather here again, invite more people, and make sure no one is left out. Isaac nodded enthusiastically, we'll spread the word. Let us make this bigger. People need to know they're welcomed here. As the applause settled, the man in the suit shifted his weight, still frozen in place. His brows knitted tighter, shadows hiding his face as he continued to sift through the changing dynamics. Maria briefly locked eyes with him again. He look dejected, there was something calculating about him, a challenge lying just beneath the surface. Excuse me, he finally interjected, regaining his composure. I appreciate your enthusiasm, and I see some potential here. But I can't help but think you will need more than just encouragement. Resources, professional support. Maria held his gaze, a newfound resolve filling her. If we focus on our genuine stories, the rest will follow. Money can't buy a voice, but when people share their truth, magic happens. The man's expression shifted marginally. The corners of his mouth tugged slightly upwards, a flicker of respect crossing his countenance. You truly believe that, don't you? Absolutely, Maria replied, her heart racing at the subtle acknowledgement she sensed. Our stories woven together can be our strength. As the crowd burst into discussion, excitement and possibility swirled in the air. Lila stood alongside Maria, her eyes sparkling with newfound purpose. Their partnership felt right, a fusion of youthful energy and dedication, like two pieces of a puzzle coming together. Hours passed, laughter and ideas exchanging hands as conversations bubbled around the room. Maria felt lighter, free from the crushing weight of her earlier doubts. This was at the beginning of a movement that could amplify voices many thought were unheard. As the crowd began to disperse, Lila turned to Maria, her brow furrowing slightly. Do you think the man in the suit will really help us? Or did he just want to make us feel like we needed him? It's hard to say, Maria sighed, scanning the room. People were leaving with smiles on their faces, talking about their own experiences, their excitement palpable. But whether he does or not, we can't lose sight of our mission. These voices are powerful. Yeah. And we have to protect them, Lila added, determination etched on her face. With a lingering glance at the departing audience, Maria felt a rush of anticipation. She longed for their next meeting, the thought of gathering more stories igniting the warm glow of hope in her chest. They could create something beautiful here. They could help each other rise, but as the dust began to settle, a text buzzed on Maria's phone. She frowned, her stomach dropping as she read the message. Change of plans. Meeting tomorrow. We need to finalize the framework. Her heart raced. Who could it be? The man in the suit. Did he have more in store than just an offer? A chilling thought gripped her. What if he had a grip on the narrative they were weaving? How could they balance this newfound spark against the threat of someone wanting to dictate their journey? With Lila beside her, steadfast and bright, Maria couldn't shake off the urge to fight for their voices. As she prepared to leave, uncertainty loomed. What if tomorrow would define their mission's outcome? And would they be ready for whatever came next? The next morning arrived with a heavy fog settling over the city, a stark contrast to the vibrant energy that had filled the room just hours before. Maria could hardly focus on her morning routine. The buzz of uncertainty hummed in her mind. As she tried to pour her coffee, her hands trembled slightly, spilling a few drops onto the countertop. Breathe, she whispered to herself, trying to regain some sense of control. Just breathe. Lila's voice on the other end of the line pulled her out of her swirling thoughts. Hey, are you ready? I'm outside. Maria grabbed her jacket and hurried out. The chilly air hit her face, refreshing in its sharpness. Yeah, I'm coming. She shouted, quickening her pace. As she joined Lila, she noticed the determination etched on her friend's face, mirroring the urgency Maria felt inside. Do you think we're being set up? Lila asked, her eyes scanning the busy street. What if this meeting goes sideways? We'll handle it together, Maria reassured her, trying to inject confidence into her voice. We're here for our voices, and that can't be taken away. The two made their way to the specified coffee shop, a bustling environment filled with chatter and the rich aroma of brewing coffee. It felt like the perfect backdrop for what could be a pivotal moment. They found a small table in the corner, waiting for the man in the suit, who had not yet arrived. As they waited, Maria's mind raced. What if he really wanted to take control of their narrative? What if they were stepping into a trap? She brushed those thoughts aside. They had to remain focused and brave. Do you remember last week? Lila chuckled softly, breaking into Maria's spiraling thoughts. When we said our stories would bring people together. It was like magic. Maria smiled. Yeah, like when everyone stood up and began sharing their experiences. That was powerful. Just then, the door swung open, and the man in the suit walked in, his presence commanding the room's attention. He looked around, and his eyes settled on Maria and Lila. With a practiced smile, he strode over. Hello, ladies, he said smoothly, his tone warm yet steely. I hope you're ready to make some exciting decisions today. Depends on what you have in mind, Maria replied, meeting his gaze head-on. He nodded, recognizing her steady demeanor. I want to help you amplify your voices, but we need a foundation, a strong framework to support your vision. Maria's heart raced again. What exactly does that mean? He leaned forward, lowering his voice. It means resources, guidance, and our network behind you. The chance to reach a larger audience. But his eyes narrowed slightly. You must align with the strategy. Lila shifted uncomfortably. Strategy? You mean control? Not control, he insisted. Partnership. We want to create something sustainable. Your stories matter, but they can only thrive with the right structure. A weight grew in Maria's chest. They could use the support, but at what cost? And what if we don't agree? I'm not here to stifle your voices. There was an edge in his tone now. I'm offering a lifeline. But we need to be aligned. It's about making impact. Maria glanced at Lila, both lost in a storm of thoughts. The very essence of their mission felt suddenly threatened. They had envisioned this as a community effort, a spark ignited by shared truths, not a business proposal. Maria's mind raced with possibilities. Could they trust this man? Was he really an ally, or a wolf in disguise? Let me think about it, she said firmly, feeling the weight of unspoken words and ideas hanging in the air. The man nodded, but a flicker of irritation crossed his face. I'll need an answer soon. As he stood up to leave, Maria felt the atmosphere shift, as though a curtain was closing on their initial excitement. The moment hung heavy between them. Lila looked at her, frustration and fear mingled in her expression. What do we do now? Lila whispered, unsure of the next step. Maria's heartbeat thundered in her ears, but one thing was clear: they had to decide whether to take the leap into his world or protect their grassroots movement from being overshadowed. Let us brainstorm, Maria said, pulling out her notebook with grit. We need to find our own path. With a shared nod, they dove into the heart of their mission, fingers flying over pages filled with dreams and raw stories. But just as they lost themselves in the moment, Maria's phone buzzed again, a notification alerting her to a new message. She hesitated, realizing that every choice they made could change everything. What if that message was a sign? Would it bring clarity or push them further into chaos? With uncertainty still hanging thick in the air, Maria couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the edge of something monumental, and they had to decide where to leap. The week flew by, and everyone could feel the buzz in the air. Maria and Lila had shared their proposals with others, and now the gathering they'd envisioned was on the calendar. Posters decorated the bakery, filled with messages of hope, stories waiting to be shared. But Maria couldn't shake the weight of the man in the suit's words. What if his offer was necessary? Yet, every fiber in her being screamed against surrendering control. As the day of the gathering approached, the bakery filled with the sweet aroma of pastries. Maria's parents watched with pride as their daughter prepared for something bigger than herself. You're ready, Maria, her mother said, her eyes shining. Just remember, this is your story. Those words wrapped around Maria like a warm blanket. She hunched over the table, writing her speech, surrounded by flour and sugar. It's about connection. She murmured to herself, rewarding herself with a gentle smile. The day arrived, bright and clear, filled with the laughter of children and the smell of fresh-baked goods. As people began to filter into the bakery, she felt the wave of excitement wash over her. Friends, families, newcomers, everyone was here to share their stories. The crowd settled like a bubbling pot, and Maria took a deep breath, stepping up to the makeshift stage at the front during the fair. She glanced at Lila, who nodded eagerly from the front row. Thank you all for coming, she began, her voice steady yet laced with nerves. Today, we gather not just to hear stories, but to embrace them. Our experiences, each of them is a piece of our identity. As she spoke, she opened the floor to anyone who wanted to share. The first to rise was Isaac, with words that flowed from his heart, recounting his journey as an immigrant. Silence hung in the room, each person wrapped in the gravity of his story. One by one, others found the courage to speak, voices rising in harmony like a chorus. They began sharing tales of struggle, hope, and triumph, knitting together the fabric of their community. Each person who spoke helped weave that tapestry tighter, threads interlocking, emotions binding. The room buzzed with something tangible connection. Maria beamed, looking around at the faces, some tear-streaked but all shining with meaning. The energy was contagious, hope igniting everywhere like fireworks. Even the man in the suit had shown up, arms crossed, standing at the back, observing. Maria felt a flicker of determination ignite in her heart. This wasn't about his framework, it was about their community, their stories. Midway through the gathering, Lila stepped forward. Can we dream together? She asked, her voice lifting. What if we created a movement? A way for stories to spread like wildfire? Nods of agreement erupted. Someone shouted out their idea for a blog, others pitched the idea of workshops, where people could share their skills, blending stories and creation. They came alive. This was a bind that transcended language and difference, a way to unite and propel them forward. Maria felt the room pulsate, people caught in a sweet momentum that was building. Just as a wave of enthusiasm crested, Maria spotted the man narrowing his eyes, still standing at the back. Mistrust flickered within her like a candle in the wind, but she leaned into the moment. "We're not afraid to write our narrative ourselves," Maria declared, her voice ringing true, the confidence spilling from her heart. In that pivotal moment, the man stepped forward. "You've done well today," he admitted finally, a hint of respect in his tone. "But don't think you can build this alone." The crowd's cheers dipped, tension thickening the air as people looked at each other, whispering uncertainties. Yet, Maria remained steadfast. "We don't intend to do this alone. We're a community now. We lift each other up." "But you need structure, guidance," he retorted, edging closer. "I can help you reach more, but we need to strategize, align our goals," he offered, a new note of sincerity lacing his voice. "Because you think you know better?" Maria's voice rang strong, sparking defiance amidst the crowd. "No one can map our story but us." Her heart swelled as applause erupted once more. The man paused, visibly taken aback, and for a moment, doubt crossed his face. Once more, she could sense a shift in the atmosphere. It wasn't just a clash of ideals, it was a chance for transformation. She stepped forward, heart pounding, riding the tide of courage. "Let us meet halfway," she proposed, eyes sparkling with resolve. "You don't need to control our story, but perhaps your expertise could guide us. If we can collaborate, we can build something real together." The crowd erupted in applause again, buzzing with intrigue and hope. The man seemed to consider, an expression of contemplation washing over him. As the gathering morphed from individual stories to a collective vision, a realization struck Maria: the true power lay in sharing, teaching, and growing together. By the end of the day, they forged something new, a roadmap for connection, honoring every voice. They were rising, powerful together, with hands intertwined, threads of hope binding them closer than ever. It was electric, and just like that, under the glow of laughter, stories, and the smell of freshly baked bread, Maria stood surrounded by family and community. She felt stronger, ready to face whatever came next, fueled by the knowledge that together, they were unstoppable. "All stories matter," she shouted one last time, capturing the spirit of the moment. As the sun set, illuminating the sky in brilliant colors, the man stood back, perhaps with a fresh lens. Could he see it? A spark igniting? And Maria knew that it was only the beginning. This was their legacy. This was their family. Now, even as the event concluded, the challenge remained. The youth, the elders, everyone clambered together, and with that unity renewed, she couldn't wait to see how they would shape the future, one conversation at a time. This was their call to action. This was just the start of a movement. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that unfold from this community. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let everyone hear our stories. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. We want to hear your voice. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to join us in this transformational journey, because together, we're unstoppable. So don't wait not even one more second.